we have a special treat. Sister Phalecia had asked me the other day, about a week ago or the other day, she said something about she would like to give her testimony. And I'll be honest with you, I've never heard her testimony. But I know this, what God has brought us from. How many of y'all that last song kind of hits home? I've been redeemed. I've been redeemed. I got to tell you the truth. I don't know about you, but many times, Brother Anthony, the enemy tries to bring up my past. He tries to bring up things that I have done in the past. And he tries to throw them up in my face and say, listen, who do you think you are? And the truth is, Brother Kyle, I'm not perfect. Amen. But I am redeemed. Amen. And I am not who I used to be. Amen. I don't see perfection in my life, but I do see that I have changed. And that God has made a difference in my life. And this morning, I'm looking forward to Sister Phalecia's testimony. I'll be honest with you, man, I had one of them weeks where God just was talking to me all week, and boy, I just want to preach really good. But you know what? I like being preached at too, and I like hearing God, how He changes a life, and how, you know, it's one thing for somebody to say over in a missionary field, or this happened over here. It's another thing when it's your granddaughter's legs that were twisted, and she runs up there and dances on the stage for the Lord. And you realize it was her legs that God touched. It's another thing when you see I showed people when I was down in Houston, I showed them those pictures of my granddaughter's legs, and I said, you know, that happened within just a few months of God touching her. And I said, it's one thing I know, if somebody else showed me that, I bet there was some doctors involved, or this, maybe that was two different sets of legs. But I know for a fact whose daughter it was, and whose granddaughter it is. And I know who healed, and I know who straightened those legs. So it's one thing to hear people talk about on radios or on TV, but I'm looking forward to hearing what God has done in Sister Phalecia's life and how He redeemed her. Amen. Let's go to Sister Susan's class and Sister Carolyn's. If they want to go back there. It's not an R-rated testimony, but it is a PG.
Come on, kids. Come on, kids. Let's go.
You find it?
Yep, sounds like you did.
So before I get started, I'd like to pray. If you bow your head. Dear Lord Jesus, I would like you to use my words to encourage you, dear Lord, to be for your glory and your Holy Spirit through the talking. In Jesus' name, amen. So I just pray that someone gets touched by this testimony. I mean, I like how Brother Bain, because he his name, said it when he was here with his testimony. It's not his testimony anymore, it's God's. And so
Amen.
You guys can use this to testify to somebody else, because I believe I've been through what I've been through to glorify God. So I'll start from the beginning. While my mom was pregnant with me, and she and my biological dad was in a car accident, my dad's shoulder hit my mom's side and cracked her ribs, and she had me natural. I was born 23 hours later in Phalecia, California, so I had a rough start to my life already. My mom and dad weren't married. They got married when I was 3 or 4 years old. They were divorced by the time I was 4 or 5. The years they were married, all I remember are images of them fighting. I was told later in my life that they had done drugs. And I was really young, and I don't remember a whole lot about this situation. I remember images of my mom getting thrown onto a couch on a wooden couch farm. So, you know, it's a very abusive relationship. I do remember my grandma, so I must have spent a lot of time with them, because I don't remember my biological dad at all until I met him later when I was 16. After my dad got busted for drugs, he went to jail. Mom divorced him and got together with my stepdad. And you guys met my grandma easily, right? Came to visit for a little while. That's her son, which is my two brothers' dad. He was pretty good to me, but he was stern. I got my fair share of whoopings from him. I was told that my mom had another wreck and my car seat landed in a tree, and I just happened to be at my grandma's house that night, so it was a miracle. I wouldn't have survived that if I was there with her. My brother Ezra was born when I was about 5 years old, and I do remember my mom and stepdad fighting too, and of course I was old enough to know by then that they were doing drugs, because I could smell the marijuana. One day they told me that we were moving to Oklahoma, and I remember crying. I knew that all I knew was my family. I just knew that I would never see them again. Oklahoma seemed so far away. I was about 6 years old. I remember thinking the night before we left, I could just hide underneath my bed and they wouldn't find me. I wouldn't have to go with them. They'd have to leave without me. I begged to stay with my grandparents. I dreaded it so much, but the next thing I know that we're on the road headed to McCurtain, Oklahoma. I found out later they left California because they were in trouble with the law, something to do with drugs. So we lived with my stepdad's relatives and we finally got a house of our own. I remember having to play outside all the time. I remember them having parties, loud music through all the night, and I got to where I could sleep through anything. And I remember this guy stayed with us for a while. One day we were outside just hanging out, mom and dad and them were drinking, hanging out. And me and my brother was playing around in the yard. And this guy that was staying with us said to me, "Don't come around this corner, I'll be right back." And I didn't think anything of it. You tell kids one thing and it goes in one ear out the other. And well, I ended up going around that corner and saw him peeing outside. I instantly froze, and then I didn't know what to do, so I just turned around and he was yelling at me, "I told you not to come around this corner." And that night when everybody was in bed, he woke me up and said to bring your blanket and come outside. And I was scared to death, so I did exactly what he said. He lays the blanket on the ground and says, "Remember what I told you, not to come around that corner, and you did anyways? Now it's time for you to show me yours. So get on the blanket." So I did, and I took my clothes off. And all I could remember is closing my eyes. It was quiet for a little while, it seemed like, and all of a sudden he said, "Go back inside. Your mom and dad asked what you were doing. Say that you were getting a drink." He did not intend on just looking. But he did. That's all that happened. And I believe that was a miracle that God saved me from, other circumstances. But I don't remember him being there after that. He must have moved out. I remember wrong paragraph. Around that time, I remember an elderly lady that kept asking to have permission to bring me to church. Finally, my parents let her, and she came and picked me up for church a couple times. She took me to Vacation Bible School, and I thought that was really fun. And so I have a huge heart for picking up kids to church, so I'm really glad that our church does that. That's how I became to know Christ, and it was the beginning of what I am today. So if we bring hundreds of children to church and one of them gets saved or their parents start coming to church, isn't it worth it?
Amen.
I remember going to church with my best friend at Assembly of God Church there. I finally got my mom to go to a couple times, and we were both baptized, but we didn't go to church much longer after that. That was after my brother Levi was born, and I'll talk about that later. My mom and stepdad were fighting more and more, it seemed, pretty much every day. I remember one day them fighting and screaming and yelling. I was peeking around the corner to see what's going on, and my dad spotted me, drug me by the hair of the head to where they were yelling, and he said, "Do you want to see what's going on?" My mom was screaming, "Stop," and of course I was screaming and crying, but from then on, I didn't peek around the corner. I remember we went fishing one day. Well, they went fishing one day. I still don't understand the whole situation, but we were parked on the side of the road, and they, jumped the fence to go fishing, and it was me in the driver's side back seat, and my little brother Ezra, and the ice chest beside him, and they left the door cracked. I have no idea why, but Dad said, "Don't let the ice chest fall out." I was like, okay. As soon as Mom and Dad cross the fence, Ezra pushes it out on purpose so I get in trouble, and he's like, "I told you not to let it fall out." And I was like, Ezra did it, Ezra did it. And I got a whooping with a fishing pole. It was the biggest whooping I've ever got in my life. Huge bruise. My Nana seen it and was mad, but that was one of many. Let's see. The next thing I know, my brother Levi is born, so I have two brothers, Ezra and Levi, and you know Levi, Jared. They were in class together. When he was 8 months old and I was 12 years old, the cops show up at our house and our parents get busted for drugs. They both went to jail. I remember going to McCurtain for at least one day because I remember sitting in the 6th grade class while this boy read aloud in the newspaper. No Facebook back then, it was the newspaper. They were laughing and he was trying to cheer me up by mispronouncing marijuana by saying like marijuana, but it just made it worse. After that, me and the boys were able to stay with my Nana here in Wolverton at the River Edition, so this is what brought me to Wolverton. Ezra and I had to change schools. Levi was still getting breastfed, so that was a huge change for him. He was so spoiled by sleeping with my mom that the only way we could get him to go to sleep was to sleep with me. I remember being in junior high and coming home changing diapers, and before they got busted, I remember mom sometimes waking me up in the middle of the night because she couldn't get Levi to go to sleep, and I would have to help put him to sleep. I'd sleep on a couch in their bedroom, had a pretty big bedroom. My mom gets out of jail 8 months later, and my stepdad Phil was still in jail, so she divorced him. We moved into a rent house. I remember mom working at the hospital, and I rode my bike to the bus stop with Levi on the handlebars, going to the hide-and-seek daycare here in town. We lived in that trailer park behind the Pizza Hut. I think that's when I actually met you, Phalecia. I don't know if you remember me back then or not. I think this is around the time when I met Jennifer Taylor. Do you guys remember Jennifer Taylor that came here a couple services? I went to church at the Rock for a little bit. She was a teacher there, and I went there off and on, and I eventually quit going. During the 9th grade, I transferred from Wolverton to Panola. I went from 60 kids in my grade to about 25. And for either my 13th or 14th birthday, my mom threw me the best birthday party ever. So I thought at the time, and it considered a beer and liquor. So my mom got me drunk for the first time until this night I thought people were faking being clumsy from drinking, but I found out that wasn't true. This was the start of me partying. This just opened a door. From then on, I wanted more. My friends invited me to drinking parties. I'd go, and of course lying to my mom, saying I was somewhere else. The only good thing is half the time I couldn't go because I had to babysit my brothers and because mom worked nights, so that was a blessing itself. I was still pretty shy and reserved in school. I just wanted to fit in. I still had the personality of a good girl. My friends could see it. They would do more than drink. They smoked weed and was sexually active, and I just didn't want to go that far yet. Even though they were doing those things, I felt like they had to protect me, which is another miracle. I think my life would have turned out a lot differently if they wasn't trying to protect me. My mom ended up dating this guy his name was Danny. He's 11 years older. He's 11 years younger than her and 8 years older than me, so he's closer to my age. I couldn't stand him from the start. The main reason because he was flirty with me and my friends, but mom and him fell in love, and the next thing I knew, he was living with us. Mom let him be the boss of us. He was home more than she was, and she was a total different person around and a better person when he wasn't around. It didn't take long, and they were fighting just like I've seen before. I found out later they were doing drugs too, and I tried my best to be at my friend's house more. It was a little more possible because I didn't have to babysit as much because Danny was watching them, but it was so hard because Danny was always on my case. It seemed like I was grounded for every little thing. I remember being grounded for a month for just leaving my bedroom light switch on. I talked to my friends into letting me smoke weed. It was a different feeling, not a feeling I expected, more like a ringing in my ears or lightheaded. I did it a couple times, and one day my mom and Danny asked me if I've ever tried weed, and I of course said no. And they asked me if I'd like to try it, and I said sure. So I got high with my mom and Danny. I thought, this is weird. I'd never smoked it out of a pipe before, so we smoked it, and It was a feeling not like the rest of the times. I could hardly walk. The ringing in my ears was way worse than ever before. I laid down and couldn't get up, and I felt like someone was pushing on my chest. I didn't like it at all. I had no control over my body, and I remember my older brother Ezra asking what's wrong with me, and that was the last time I smoked. I mean, even though it's a horrible thing to have to go through with your parents, but I think if that wouldn't have happened, I was probably be different. The next thing I remember, my senior year, my mom was at work, and Danny told me to cook dinner. I smarted off, and I said, tell me what to cook, because I'm not going to cook and you not eat it. And he wouldn't tell me, so I grounded up some hamburger meat in a skillet and put it on a plate and started heating up grease for French fries. He comes into the house and says, looks at what I'm cooking, and he says, I'm not eating it, and throws it on the floor. I get irate, I start screaming, we're in each other's face. He backhands me several times in my face. I'm yelling at him, he's yelling at me. I go next door to his parents' house because we live next to them, and told them what happened. And they said they didn't want to get in the middle of it. I'm at school the next day and holding my jaw to eat because my jaw's popping when he hit me. My home ec teacher asked what's wrong, and I told her everything. The next thing I know, me and my brothers were in a foster home. My brothers were there for about a week, and I had to stay there longer because I was the one in danger. The court told my mom she wasn't getting me back until Danny moved out. So Danny moved out, and I came home. And my mom made me go to the DA office and say I lied about everything and drop the charges. So I did, and Danny moved back in. Then he puts me through Danny camp, he called it. He said I needed to learn some respect, so he had me doing push-ups, jumping jacks, rolling around in the sand until I threw up. When all that was over from then on, I only spoke to him if I needed to. It was my senior year, and I was going to be gone soon, so I graduated at 17. Me and my boyfriend were spending more time together now that I was graduated. I had a job at the grocery store at Roy's here in town. Mom never liked my boyfriend. She despised him. I never knew until later. I'll get to that. One day in July, I came home from work, and my mom and them weren't home, so I ended up staying at my boyfriend's house. The next day I went home, they still weren't there, so I found out they were camping. So I decided that this is my chance to move out. I moved in with my boyfriend and his dad at age 17. And Mom, of course, begged me to come back, but I wouldn't. A few months later, she left Danny. I was thinking, why didn't she do that 3 or 4 years ago? She also did that recently with my youngest brother, Levi. She was in a bad relationship. She waited until he graduated and finally left him. She thought if she could hold the family together until Levi graduated, then everything would be okay. And I think, no, if you're in a violent relationship, get out. It's not only hurting you, it's hurting the rest of your family as well. A couple months later, after my mom left Danny, me and my boyfriend get a rent house of our own. I knew he smoked weed, but this is the first time when I found out that he did crank too. Some people call it meth. And I also found out that he did it with my mom before we got together. So that's why she despised him. I threatened to break up with him, and he begged me to stay and said he quit, so I stayed. One day we were camping with his family, and I lay down in the tent first, and he said he wanted the side that I was on, and I said no. He said it again, and I again said no. So he punches me right in the forehead. And he punched me so hard I actually seen stars. I go to the bathroom, my forehead is already swelling, and I got 2 black eyes from it, and a knot stayed on my head for a couple of years. This is when I realized it's time to leave, but I didn't. Something kept me there for a few more months. We would argue all the time. I was miserable. Then I caught him smoking crank again, and this was the last straw. I was finally free. I kicked him out of my apartment, and I was single with no car, but I had a job at Franklin Electric, and I was working with Jennifer Taylor. This is when Jennifer, okay, it was all some pretty deep stuff, so it gets better. This is when Jennifer brought me to Carrie's family's gathering, Halloween hayride. Carrie and I started dating, and my ex-boyfriend gave us a little trouble at first, but not for long. After 4 months of Carrie and I dating, he bought himself a truck and gave me his car, so I had a vehicle. Our relationship was pretty rocky at the start. Looking back, I think I wasn't sure how to act or treat other people. It's like I had so much anger built in me, had a lot of trust issues. It took several years for me to realize this. In 2006, my mom quit drugs for good, and she's been clean ever since. My stepdad is trying to build a relationship with me. He's apologized for everything in the past, and I've forgiven him. And he's been clean for a while too from drugs. Thought I cried the sad stuff. This is a happy thing. So after almost 2 years, Carrie and I moved to Clinton, and Carrie talked me into going to college, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to go for. So by the third semester, I decided to get a computer science degree. I eventually got my bachelor's degree. I didn't want to go to college. I hated school, but I'm glad that I did. In 2010, Carrie and I started going to a church named Shiloh. Several months later, we get married in 2010, and I began to know God in a way I never had before. It's just a feeling I can't explain. And Carrie started going to church with me less. She didn't enjoy the church anymore, and I was stubborn and stayed. And I felt like only half of me was there, and I wasn't getting the fullness of God. We did that off and on for about 4 years, and I finally decided one day, after a lot of praying and a lot of tears, that I needed to quit church, and we needed to find a church together. And that's when we found Sunshine. I don't regret it at all. I feel like at home here. You guys feel like my family here. God works in wonderful ways. I mean, and through that time, we've gotten all of a sudden 4 kids, and we're so blessed in so many ways. And even the little things matter to God. I'll be rushing around in the morning, getting ready for work, ready to leave. I forget my phone or something. I have to go back inside. Then I head off to work. I see a deer in the road a little ways in front of me, and I kind of went back and got my phone, and I may have hit that deer. Carrie got laid off his rig job. We had accumulated a bunch of debt during that job. Unemployment was only going to pay half of his salary. There's no job that he could find that would pay more than unemployment, so it made sense at the time to stay on unemployment. We weren't going to afford our bills on unemployment, though. We filed our taxes and was able to write off expenses in the oil field. We got $10,000 back, and it covered all of our debt that had accumulated. God is good.
Amen.
A couple summers ago, we went to the water park, heading home. Carrie's work truck started feeling weird in the steering. He pulls over, calls a tow truck. The next day, the mechanic tells Carrie that as soon as he got off the tow truck, the steering locked up. So if Carrie would have driven any further, then that's what would have happened. I could go on and on telling y'all about how good God is. I'm sure you guys got some miraculous stories as well. But I want you to know that God has a plan for each one of us. You just have to seek His path. He was with me the whole time through every single situation, and even when I didn't want Him to be. My past does not define my future. God does. I'm a strong woman who just happened to be a little girl that had a rough childhood. I could have chosen to follow my family's path, but God didn't let me. The devil wants to constantly bring up the memories of my past, things I've done, and all I can say is, okay, I'll share it in my testimony. And I'll use it to glorify God. And look at me now. Look at God in me now. You can't have me, devil, because God has my back. We all have a past. God loves you, not because you deserve it, because He wants to love you. There's a song that says, just come as you are to Him, because that's the only way we can come to Him as we are. There's no secrets with God. He knows everything. You say to yourself, I'll get my ducks in a row before I start coming to church or get saved, but I'm here to tell you now, I've been saved for many years, and I still don't have my ducks in a row. I want you to know, if you are or have been in these situations that I've explained, you're not alone. If you haven't been in these situations, pray. Pray for a family that needs it. You never know. Your prayers might prevent a little girl from getting into